Tonight on NewsWatch, radical Islam in the Middle East, how the now banned Muslim Brotherhood is still working in Egypt.
Plus, the budget battle heads to the Senate. A look at the fight to fund the government and avoid another shutdown.
And CBN News investigates the connection between cell phones and breast cancer. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. And good evening, everyone. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. After Egypt officially banned the Muslim Brotherhood earlier this year, many people started dismissing the group, saying it was no longer a powerful arm of radical Islam.
That's right. But as Eric Stakelbeck reports in tonight's top story, the Brotherhood and the global movement it leads are far from weak.
Dozens of Christian churches burned to the ground. Deadly attacks against Egyptian troops and police. Calls for jihad against the so-called enemies of Allah. That's just some of what the Muslim Brotherhood and its allies have been up to since the Egyptian military forced President Mohamed Morsi from office. The Brotherhood is clearly on the ropes in Egypt. It has once again been outlawed, and most of its leaders now sit in prison awaiting trial. Polls show that a large majority of Egyptians are pleased with the change. Millions of Egyptians consistently took to the streets in massive protest calling for Morsi's ouster.
People on the ground in Egypt are kind of sick of them.
Middle East expert and CBN contributor Raymond Ibrahim says Egyptian outrage is rooted in Morsi and the Brotherhood's decision to put the advancement of radical Islamist ideology over the good of the Egyptian people.
They're being accused of being disloyal, working with foreign entities, and just to get themselves in power and then to do their bidding.
The Brotherhood has also faced backlash in Tunisia, where it rose to power in 2011. Its Palestinian branch, Hamas, has been weakened as well. And a recent leadership change in the tiny oil-rich nation of Qatar, one of the global Brotherhood's biggest financiers, may affect the group's efforts around the world. But don't begin writing an obituary just yet, because the Muslim Brotherhood remains active in some 70 countries worldwide, and it is resilient.
We have to remember that the Muslim Brotherhood is a very substantial factor in the Arab world. This is the biggest mass movement in the Arab Muslim Sunni world.
Avi Melamed is a former Israeli intelligence official. He says that as the Brotherhood struggles to regain its footing, even more radical forces like al-Qaeda are seeking to take advantage in places like Syria.
Syria also become the stage for the struggle between practical political Syrian elements like the Free Syrian Army on the one hand, and radical Islam affiliated group who basically sees Syria as a great opportunity to establish an al-Qaeda-style base in the heart of the Arab world.
The growing strength of al-Qaeda and its allies became clear most recently in Kenya, where the terror group al-Shabaab killed at least 67 people at a Nairobi shopping mall. At the same time, Shiite Iran continues its march towards a nuclear bomb, and its proxy Hezbollah has stockpiled tens of thousands of rockets and missiles. Then there is the Brotherhood-aligned Turkish government, which continues to be a powerful player in the Middle East and beyond. As for the Muslim Brotherhood, CBN News has reported how its followers hold influential advisory positions in the Obama administration, and Muslim brothers continue to lead violent protests against the interim Egyptian government.
In fact, if anything, usually before a death blow, things get very chaotic and hectic and violent. So if anything, you can expect to see more of an outlash from the Brotherhood.
Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Washington.
And Eric joins us now from Washington for more. Eric, we know the Brotherhood poses a threat in the Middle East, but as you have reported numerous times on this show, followers of the group hold influential positions in the Obama administration. What does this mean for the United States?
George, it's a very dangerous thing because these Muslim Brotherhood-aligned individuals and groups, look, they are not in the president's cabinet. It's not like they're the Secretary of State or the head of the Department of Defense, George, but they are in influential advisory positions where they are helping to craft policy. For example, the countering violent extremism strategy that the White House has put forward over the past few years, several Muslim Brotherhood-aligned individuals have been involved in crafting that. Basically, George, people who are loyal to the Muslim Brotherhood and support that radical agenda are helping to shape our policies in the Middle East and our counterterrorism policies here at home, working with the FBI, with the Department of Homeland Security, etc. Very dangerous thing. Fox guarding the henhouse type situation.
Yeah, and it's not just the Brotherhood. There are other terror groups, Eric, that are causing chaos around the world. You reported about the Kenya mall attack earlier this year. Where do you see in this next year areas of the world that are most vulnerable to another potential major terrorist attack?
George, I think number one, an area that you know very well, Africa. I see right now, Africa, you have weak central governments. You have vast expanses of land where terror groups can set up shop and train. Look at Mali. Look at the Sahara Desert region. Look at Somalia, of course. Libya is now an al-Qaeda hotbed post-Gaddafi. All of these areas are unstable. They are perfect. They present perfect situations for terror groups to set up shop. I also look at the Sinai Peninsula area, George, of Egypt, bordering Israel, also becoming an al-Qaeda magnet. And look, in terms of targets, always America, of course, always Israel, always European capitals. But George, look for Benghazi-type situations where perhaps you're not hitting the U.S. mainland if you're al-Qaeda, but you're attacking U.S. embassies, U.S. consulates around the world.
And recently, the CIA and other officials have been talking about the chatter that's growing within the intelligence community about a potential attack down the road. Eric Stakelbeck, as always, sir, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you, George.
Wendy?
The National Security Agency's program collecting data on U.S. phone calls is likely unconstitutional. A federal judge in Washington made that ruling today. He says the collection of phone records violates the Constitution's ban on unreasonable searches. Some lawmakers have been voicing similar opinions since Edward Snowden made the NSA spying revelations earlier this year.
The NSA is literally collecting every phone record of every American every day. And look, the content of those phone calls is not available, but I think knowing when I call somebody, from where I call somebody, and for how long I call somebody is a violation of your privacy. There are apps that you can get on your smartphone or your smart tablet or your computer, Bob, that can take that phone data and give a pretty good impression of what you do during your daily activities. To me, that is a violation of Americans' privacy.
The judge in the case has put today's ruling on hold pending an appeal from the government. And more fallout from the NSA monitoring scandal after revelations of U.S. surveillance abroad. Some in the European Union are seeking a tighter flow of data, a move some lawmakers say would threaten American businesses. A bipartisan group in the House is insisting the Obama administration demand U.S. allies back away from the proposed restrictions on international data transmissions. Tighter restrictions could hurt companies who rely on collecting data across borders like Google, Facebook, and Amazon.
The budget compromise passed by the House is facing an uphill battle in the U.S. Senate. And while some say the deal is a first step forward, finding common ground between Republicans and Democrats, others say it shows there is none. Gary Lane reports.
Members of the Republican-controlled House gave overwhelming approval to the budget plan.
Our job is to find enough common ground to move the ball down the field on behalf of the American people who sent us here to do their work.
But supporters of the deal may need a Hail Mary pass to win in the U.S. Senate. Tea Party members oppose the agreement because it does little to address the issues of entitlements and out-of-control spending. The nation's debt now stands at more than $17 trillion. And there's the increasingly ugly atmosphere in the Senate. Senate Democrats recently invoked the so-called nuclear option, changing Senate rules to prevent Republican filibusters of President Obama's judicial nominees. Even some Democrats say the nuclear option has poisoned the atmosphere in the higher chamber and created a somewhat dysfunctional, uncooperative Senate. Meanwhile, former Republican Senator Alan Simpson warned Congress still needs to tackle the bigger problems, calling the budget deal a sparrow belch in the midst of a typhoon. Bob Bixby of the bipartisan Concord Coalition said the president calls it a good first step, but to what? One of the main architects of the proposed budget, House Republican Paul Ryan, said Congress will be asked to revise the tax code next year. Appearing on Meet the Press Sunday, Ryan defended the deal.
And I know what I think is the right thing to do. Getting a budget agreement that reduces the deficit without raising taxes and prevents two government shutdowns from occurring in 2014, in my opinion, is the right thing to do.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says he'd like to see a vote within the next several days. That way, members of the U.S. Senate can be home for Christmas. But Bixby says if it passes, few Americans will get excited. It's a little bit like a child bringing home a D on a report card, he says, instead of an F. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Former Governor Mike Huckabee is considering a presidential run in 2016. In an exclusive interview with CBN's David Brody, Huckabee says, quote, "There's a new openness now." He says top evangelical and financial figures that did not back him in 2008 are now encouraging him to run, telling him this time they'll support him.
But I'm a little surprised at the intensity that people feel it. It's not just the obligatory, oh, I'm shaking your hand, I kind of got to say something nice, so the nice thing is probably to say, gee, I hope you run. These are people that look me square in the eye and they say it with conviction.
Well, for the entire interview with Mike Huckabee, you can go to our website, cbnnews.com, and click on the Brody file.
Coming up, winter storm in the Middle East. A look at snowfall totals in Israel when we come back.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Israeli troops shot 2 Lebanese soldiers early today along the nation's border. It happened hours after a Lebanese army sniper killed an Israeli soldier. The shootings raised the possibility of renewed fighting in this volatile area, which has remained mostly quiet since a month-long summer war back in 2006. An Israeli defense official says Israel has no interest in further escalation. In the past, the Lebanese military has opened fire after saying Israeli soldiers had tried to infiltrate the country.
The Middle East, well, it is still recovering tonight from a monster storm that blanketed much of the region in snow. Chris Mitchell has that story from Jerusalem.
The worst blizzard to hit the region in more than 50 years dumped nearly 20 inches of snow on Jerusalem over 3 days.
It's unbelievable. It's nice. We have drought. We need water. See? So it's very important to have snow and have water.
The historic storm stranded thousands of motorists on their way to Jerusalem. More than 35,000 Israeli homes were without power, some for days. But for many Jerusalemites, they were days of fun without work or school.
I guess I never really thought I'd ever have a snowball fight in the old city, but there you go.
Because it's fun and you miss school and everything. You can make snowmans and eagles.
Monday was the 4th day that schools were closed in Jerusalem and elsewhere in Israel as lingering snow turned to ice on highways. Piles of snow and downed trees were everywhere. When it snows in Jerusalem, it's usually gone within a day or two. But these cars on one of the city's side streets have been abandoned and stranded for nearly 5 days. In Gaza, thousands of residents were evacuated from their homes due to flooding. Probably the hardest hit were some of the more than 2 million Syrian refugees in Lebanon, Jordan, and elsewhere, many of them living in tents. In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, thanks to security and rescue forces, many lives had been saved.
The state of Israel is coping very well with the great storm. I believe that we perform better than advanced countries that are hit more frequently by such storms, and we see the results.
Despite the dangers, many enjoyed the wonder of seeing the city of Jerusalem shrouded from what the Bible calls the treasuries of snow. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
20 inches, that's a lot. Well, the United Nations says it will need to spend almost $13 billion in humanitarian aid in 2014. Nearly half of that money will be spent in Syria alone. 16 other countries will receive the remainder. The aid money will go to 500 different organizations, including the main UN agencies for food, refugees, and children. Around $2.5 billion would go to civilians in Syria, and the rest of the Syrian aid money would go to the Syrian refugees in neighboring countries.
The family of missing retired FBI agent Robert Levinson is accusing the U.S. government of abandoning him. According to the State Department, Levinson disappeared back in March 2007 during a business trip to Iran. But a recent investigation by the Associated Press revealed Levinson was actually working on a secret CIA mission. Although the Iranian government denies any involvement in his disappearance, the U.S. is certain Iran can help find him.
I can't tell you what happened or how the sequence was, but I think the Iranian government has the ability to help us here, and we hope they will.
Some lawmakers say the CIA did not tell Congress the truth about Levinson, although there is currently no proof he is alive. The U.S. insists it has not abandoned him.
Up next, the connection between where you carry your cell phone and developing cancer.
From CBN.
Broken Eardrum is playing at the Civic tonight.
And you'll just have to miss it.
This is so incredibly unfair.
A special story of love and sacrifice.
Joy, Mom comes up with something.
Christopher Quantum, you and I are going to discuss your attitude right this minute. Superbook.
No.
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, He is Risen. Plus 2 copies to share with others. All for your gift of $25.
They have arrested Jesus, the Messiah. Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you?
No! Please! You can't!
They've taken him to Golgotha. We must hurry.
Mary is about to lose her son. The worst thing any mother could face. I am not leaving her.
Superbook. It's an amazing way to build a strong spiritual foundation in the children you love.
Mary, who are you looking for?
I've seen him! He is alive!
Superbook. He is Risen. Available now.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop. You save.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Well, George, can your cell phone give you cancer? You probably don't have as much bling on your cell phone as I do. For some women, the answer could be yes.
Yeah, and as Lori Johnson explains in tonight's Focus Report, it depends where you put this cell phone. Watch.
Millions of women, especially young ones, choose to keep their cell phone in their bra.
It's convenience is the main thing. I mean, it's right here, so I don't have to wear a purse, or like if I have a dress on that's straight up and down, I don't have pockets.
A recent survey reveals 40% of college females make that choice at least sometime during the day, and 3% for more than 10 hours a day.
We must make the bra a no-phone zone.
Dr. John West believes storing the cell phone next to the breast for an extended time could cause breast cancer. But since cell phone technology is fairly new, evidence from critical long-term studies simply isn't available yet.
We won't know if in the next 20 or 30 years. We won't have collected sufficient number of cases to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the cell phones are causing the cancer.
West says one clear signal is that he's seeing more breast cancer in young women than he's ever seen in his 40 years of practice.
When you take something and put it directly on the skin, it's high energy microwave radiation for a prolonged period of time. In young women with vulnerable developing breasts, we may have a perfect storm.
Doctors diagnosed Donna Janes with breast cancer at just 38 years old.
I had to go through a mastectomy, a single mastectomy, went through chemo, 6 rounds of chemo, 39 doses of radiation. It was just back to back continuously. It was took a heavy toll.
Donna questioned how she got her cancer since she had no risk factors. The answer, she says, was on her X-ray.
I used to tuck my cell phone into my bra right in this area here. And when I was diagnosed, had imaging done, and the doctors told me that the tumors were in the area of 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And they were shaped like the cell phone.
Donna stored her cell phone in her bra for about 10 years, but not anymore. Rachel DePalma shares an almost identical story.
I used to wear it over the left side, and I would just tuck it in my bra whenever I would go for hikes and walks with my girlfriends.
That went on for about 5 years.
I just happened to be putting on a shirt, and I noticed the lump, and I thought, well, that's a little odd. That I don't remember that being there.
Stunned by her X-ray, Rachel came to what she calls an obvious conclusion.
The area where the cancer was found, the box that the radiologist drew just happened to be the same size as my BlackBerry phone.
Despite stories like these, women carrying cell phones in their bras is, if anything, becoming even more popular. In fact, many bras like this one are now on the market with pockets for cell phones.
Radiologist June Chen grew suspicious as she diagnosed more and more of her young patients with cancer.
It's very unusual for young women in their 20s and 30s to have breast cancer, period, yet alone such extensive breast cancers. And these women are vehemently telling us that they wore their cell phones over the area, directly over the area where they subsequently developed this extensive breast cancer. And they're telling us that they wore these cell phones there on a routine and regular basis.
She advises all women to keep their cell phones away from their bodies until studies conclude whether close proximity causes cancer.
I do think that there may be an association, and therefore, since we're not sure, let's be cautious.
Most cell phone companies acknowledge some risk. For example, Apple advises keeping the iPhone more than half an inch from the body. But such safety guidelines are often overlooked.
The cell phone companies, they all now say, keep the cell phone away from the skin, but none of them deal with the issue. It's in the back of the manual, page 99, in small print. We need to get this to the surface.
So according to some breast cancer survivors and the doctors who treat them, women should declare the bra a no-phone zone before it's too late. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Great story. Up next, how Wreaths Across America is honoring veterans this Christmas.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Welcome back to the show. Volunteers placed more than 500,000 wreaths on the graves of America's war veterans this weekend.
Yeah, the event is carried out by Wreaths Across America. This is the organization's 22nd year laying wreaths at cemeteries across the nation and marks the largest number ever delivered. Volunteers, friends, and family members placed remembrance wreaths on the headstones of more than 143,000 veterans at Arlington National Cemetery.
I think the enormity of this place is a very humbling experience.
Just how much that he's missed and how much he's done for us and just how much he's loved.
This really is a sign of respect.
Across the nation, 540,000 remembrance wreaths were placed in honor of our veterans. Wreaths for America's mission is to remember, honor, and teach citizens about the sacrifice of our military veterans and their families.
And we remember them, especially during the Christmas season.
They're out in the cold and braving the cold to do that. Good for them.
That's right.
Awesome.
Okay, folks, that's all for this week's edition of NewsWatch.
Remember, you can email us your comments. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.